Thank you for joining me today in our next workshop on resume building. My name is Jessica Simerson, and I am the Career Services Specialist for Adult Education. That means that I'm here to help you figure out what you want to do after you achieve your GED or high school equivalency. And that could be anything from helping you with your college admissions process to helping you create a resume or prepare for an interview, or even help you decide what you would like to do next in case you're not sure what you want to do. So, we're going to go ahead and get today's workshop started. What I want to talk to you about today is resume building. So, what is a resume? Why do you need one? Some basic resume rules, the different types of resumes, and then just a few top tips for you to remember as you go about preparing your resume and getting ready for a job interview. So, what is a resume? Why do we need one? A resume is a 1 to 2 page summary of your work skills and history. So, you want to use a resume to showcase the specific parts of your past that demonstrate your ability to perform the required job task for the job that you're applying for. Resumes are required by most employers. When you're doing an online application, they may request that you upload a resume. So it's important that you have a resume ready, especially when you're getting ready to apply for jobs, that you have that prepared and ready to upload when you complete your application. It is used by employers to screen job seekers. So if an employer posts a job, they may receive 25 applications for that job. And what they will do is take those resumes and flip through them fairly quickly to determine which potential employees they want to offer an interview to. So the goal of resumes is to help you obtain an interview for a position that you're interested in. Some basic rules for resumes. So, things that you always want to include at the top of your resume are your name, your email address, and your phone number. So, we formally would tell you to include your physical mailing address on that resume as well, but that's not needed any longer. So, as long as the employer has your name, your email address, and your phone number, then they know how to contact you. When you're completing an application, you'll put your mailing address or your residential address on that application, so you don't need to have that also on your resume. You want to, on that resume, focus on how your specific experiences apply to the job that you're going for. So, what have you done in the past that shows that you're qualified to meet those requirements of that job that you're applying for? You can look at other samples of resumes online for help when you're setting up your resume. So, if you know that you want to be an electrician, you can do a Google search for electrician resumes and see what other people are putting on their resume, maybe some different terminology that you should use, and what employers are looking for on those resumes. Make sure short and simple. So don't have a big paragraph of information on your resume. Kind of like this slide, break it down into bullet points, keep it short, really hone in on what that employer is looking for, and make sure that you're including those requirements on your resume. Always make sure that you have someone else review your resume for errors. So ask someone to proofread it. That is something that I'm happy to do for you. I'm happy to help you set up your resume and also happy to proofread that for you just to have another set of eyes look at it, make sure there aren't any spelling errors, and make sure that everything on your resume makes sense for the job that you're applying for. Don't need to include graphics or artwork on your resume. Some people will now like to put a photo of themselves on the resume. That's not necessary. They're going to get to see you in an interview. And also, some people may even judge you based on that photo, and you don't want to have that on your resume. Just have those basic informational points about how you qualify for that job. If, for instance, you were going to go to a job fair and you're going to take copies of your resume to that to hand out to employers, Make sure that you print that on a high quality paper. My recommendation is usually to take that resume to Staples or somewhere like that and have it professionally printed so that they put it on a high quality paper with good ink so that you can really impress those employers when you go to hand out that resume. Make sure that you're not lying or exaggerating on your resume. Yes, you want to brag about yourself, but also don't overdo it. There is a pretty interesting example of lying on a resume. Recently in the news, there was a senator who lied on his resume about his education, and that has come back to bite him. So it's important that you be honest and truthful on that resume while, yes, bragging about yourself and talking about all those positive things that you've done. And then know what's on your resume before you go to a job interview. So if you apply for a job today and you submit a resume, and then in 6 months they come back and say we'd like to offer you an interview, then it's important that you go back to review what you put on your resume. One reason is because things may have changed. You might have gotten a different job since then. You might have completed your GED since that time. You may have more experience that you want to talk about. It's also important that you just go back and remember those things that you put on that resume. In an interview, they may ask you, how long were you at this specific job? And you want to be able to give that information quickly so that they know that you were not lying on that resume. There are 3 different resume formats, so we're gonna go into a little more in-depth talk about these, but the 3 different types are chronological, functional, and combination. So those are the different types of resumes, and now we're gonna kinda go in depth on each one. So the first type of resume we're going to talk about is a chronological resume. So it is a listing of your work experience, starting with your most recent job and then working backwards throughout time. It is best for people that don't have any employment gaps. And what we mean by that is if, for instance, you had a child and you had to quit work and stay home to take care of your child or during your pregnancy, that would be an employment gap. Another might be if you decided to quit a job so that you could stay home to take care of a sick family member. That would be an employment gap. If you have gaps in your employment, the chronological resume may not be the best one for you to use because if employers see a gap in your employment history, they might question that, and that might be a reason for them to not give you an interview. It does show a clear work history in your career progression. So, for instance, I've been using myself as an example. So, I have been working in the higher education field for 15 years. I have a no employment gaps in that clear work history, and you can see my progression from where I started to the position that I'm in now. So if I was going to continue in the higher education field and apply for another job, I would probably use a chronological resume because that's the best fit for me, given my circumstances, my work history, and the job that I want to apply for. So we have a sample here on the screen for you so you can see the contact information up at the top, the work experience listed, and then education down at the bottom there. The next type of resume that we want to talk about is a functional resume. So, this type is going to highlight skills as opposed to work experience. It is very good for workers who have either limited experience, who are changing fields, or who have gaps in their work history. So, back to my example of myself. If I decided to change fields and go into, for instance, the medical field, I might use a functional resume because I don't have any work experience specifically in the medical field, but I can use a functional resume to talk about the skills that I do have that are relevant to that work. So, for instance, I could talk about my customer service skills. I could talk about my dependability as an employee, I can talk about my teamwork and how I'm able to do that. So, those are different things that I could highlight on a functional resume, whereas as opposed to just listing my work history that might not be as impressive to an employer. Also, if you have limited work experience, you can use a functional resume to highlight the skills that you do have. So, like I was talking about, those customer service skills or your dependability, your work ethic, all of those kinds of soft skills. So, we have soft skills and we have hard skills. And soft skills are things that you may learn throughout your lifetime that you might not necessarily receive training for. So being a dependable employee who shows up on time every day is something that you could highlight on a functional resume. So we have a sample here of a functional resume. So you see up at the top, again, contact information. You can include your skills and qualifications, and then again, that education down at the bottom. The next resume type is a combination resume. So it is actually a little bit functional and a little bit chronological and is a good mixture of those two. So it puts your skills at the top of the resume and then follows it up with your work history. So I can go back to my example of myself, and if I'm going to enter the workforce and try to go and be in the medical profession, I might also use this combination resume because I can highlight my skills, but I can also show that I have a consistent work history. It is good for workers who have a diverse employment history. So, if you have had several different jobs in several different areas, this is a good one that you can use to highlight your skills, but also show that consistent work history that you have. So the format for this one is again contact information at the top. You can include a summary statement if you would like to, your skills, your work experience, and then education down at the bottom there as well. So before I move on to the next slide, we're going to talk about the key takeaways in this next slide. So I want you to take a second and think about what information is important that you want to remember and you want to take away from this workshop. So I'm going to give it just a brief pause and let you think about that for a moment before we move on to this next slide. So some key takeaways. So first thing to remember is keep it brief, right? 1 to 2 pages is plenty. Really, one page is optimal. Employers don't want to have to look through a full 2 pages. You should be able to be concise enough to fit everything onto one page and highlight your skills. Make sure you always include that basic contact information, so your name, your phone number, and your email. And remember that you don't have to include your address. Ask someone to proofread your resume before you submit it. So have someone look over that for you, checking for any spelling errors or anything that might not make sense based on the job you're applying for. Remember not to lie or over exaggerate your skills on your resume. And use your job posting or your job description to create the resume and match your skills to that job posting so that you have the most likelihood of being offered an interview. Remember those 3 different types of resumes, so chronological, functional, and combination, and think about which one is best based on your specific situation, your experience, and the job that you're applying for. And then make sure you know your resume. Always go back and review your resume before you go to a job interview, just to refresh your memory on how long you were in different positions and the different things you did and what you may want to highlight during your interview to talk about what's important and make sure that your employer understands what your best skills are based on the job that you're applying for. We've got some upcoming workshops for you in October. We're going to talk about West Georgia Tech 101, which is just the college admissions process. So, when should you start your application? What is a FAFSA? What should you know about the admissions process? What are the steps that you need to be aware of? So, those are some things we're going to talk about in our October workshop. In November, we're going to talk about interview skills. So, we're talking about preparing your resume now. And in November, we're going to talk about, all right, you're ready for that next step. You've got that job interview. How do you get ready for that? What questions should you be prepared to answer? And how do you get ready? How do you dress for an interview? How do you prepare mentally for an interview? And then in December, we're going to do an Adulting 101 workshop. So, some financial literacy. So, talking about credit scores and understanding loans and how to balance a checkbook, just some basic financial literacy skills that we want to make sure that you have. And I do have a brief survey here that I'd love for you to fill out and give me some feedback on this specific workshop, how you think it went, if you have any suggestions for me, or if there is a workshop that you would like me to do, something that you would like for me to talk about. I want this to be relevant for you and something that you're interested in. So if you pull out your cell phone and you're going to your camera app, you'll just hover over this or zoom in on this QR code, and a link should pop up for you, and you'll just click on that to complete that survey. It's only about 5 questions and doesn't take very long. So if you can do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. And I'm going to stay on this slide for just a few more seconds and give you an opportunity to complete that survey. If you need to pause the video, you can and get that QR code. And I appreciate you filling out those surveys for me. Thank you so much for joining me today. Congratulations on your progress in our program. We hope that you are feeling the support that you have from your instructors and our staff. I want to let you know that I will be reaching out to you as you complete 2 sections of your GED exam to just let you know that I'm available to meet with you if you want to set up a day and time for us to meet to talk about your career plans or to do some career exploration if you're not sure what you want to do next. I'm happy to help you with that. And if you would like to contact me before you complete 2 sections, you are certainly welcome to do that. This is all my contact information. Usually it's best or easiest to reach me by email because I do travel to all of our campuses. So I am on the road occasionally. So if you get me an email, I promise I will get back with you. And I'm happy to set up a day and time to meet with you. We can meet face to face, virtually, over the phone, whatever works best or is easiest for you. So please feel free to reach out if there's anything I can help you with. Whether it is career related or not, I'm happy to assist you however I can. So, again, congratulations. Thank you for being here with us. We are so proud of you and excited for you. And just keep working hard and pushing towards those goals and remembering the why of why you're here, why you started this, and why it's important for you to keep going. And if there's anything that we can help you with, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much for being here and taking some time to go through this resume building workshop with me. And I will look forward to visiting with you again or talking with you soon. Have a great day.